Most difficult part of any great adventure or quest, as I readjust my seat to get a little closer to you. You like how I smell? Come on now. Best part of any quest, most difficult part, excuse me, is that part when you're kind of out in the mix, you're on the road, you're on the journey, you get that excitement when you set out, right? And you kind of have that idea of what the end goal looks like. But when you're in the middle of the path and it's cold and it's rainy and it's dark and you don't know when it's going to be over, and maybe you're hungry, when you're on the journey, these are the part this is the part of the adventure that people don't talk about. Now, it's a key part of the adventure because without it, you cannot truly overcome great adversity. But while you're on the road, while you're on the quest, you may begin to wonder, what am I doing out here? Why am I doing this? Is this all pointless? You may battle with these, little thoughts that come into the brain that would rather you be on a couch, that would rather you be doing absolutely nothing of value, that would rather you be doing nothing worthwhile in your life. That little voice that keeps you back, that holds you from the end of the journey, it's what they call the devil. That's the devil on your shoulder, always just whispering isms to you about how much more comfortable or better off you'd be not doing it. Well, why show up today? Because it's uncertain if you're even going to get anywhere at the end of this journey. Yeah, well, why'd you even start? Maybe you should try doing something different. Maybe you should chase that shiny object over there. That's that devil on your shoulder. Because in reality, that struggle, that middle part, that adversity you face while you're on the adventure, I wouldn't say it's the point of the adventure. They say like the journey is the destination or whatever. I mean, maybe that's true, but that's not the context I'm talking about this in. But that adversity you face, that's what actually strengthens you. That's what steels you. You know what I mean? That's what kind of puts you in that mode of triumph that allows you to overcome in the end, is having dealt with that adversity in the first place. It's like over a long season, sports season, in baseball or something. The team that wins the championship oftentimes had to weather some adversity throughout the year. There's always going to be that adversity, that part where it feels like, well, maybe this is not always going to go right. Why do I bring this up? Because it's something we all face in our jobs, in our relationships, in our daily lives. There comes a point where it's like, shoot, should I just give up on this now and go a different direction? That's something I personally struggled with. I've probably started and stopped too many jobs for a guy who's 28 years old. And I've never been fired. I'm happy about that. But I've switched a number of jobs over the course of my life because either it's felt like it's gotten stale, or it's felt like the income opportunity ended, or it's felt like it wasn't the right fit. And I think it's a good thing that I quickly move on from a job or opportunity when I feel it's not serving my needs. But it's a bad thing when you give up on something too quickly just because you get bored. Oh shit, man, the long road's boring. You think when Frodo was taking the ring from the Shire to Mordor, you think he didn't get bored on one of those walks? You think it wasn't like a little boring for him at some point when he was just kind of crossing it? He's got this heavy ring and he's being chased after by ring wraiths and Nazguls. Probably sucked for a long portion of it. But now we have 3 great movies thanks to Frodo Baggins and his associate Gandalf, right? And you don't get there without the boring parts. You don't get there without the parts where it really feels like a slog. But in today's day and age of comfort, it feels like you can. I mean, if you're the kind of person who either, struggles to kind of hang in the pocket until the key moment, or if you're the kind of person who gets easily distracted, I'm the kind of person who gets easily distracted. It can put you in a situation where, you're getting to the right place, you're on the right path, you're making the right moves, except you get diverted from the path because that devil on your shoulder, that one that says, oh man, this is pretty boring, or maybe this isn't worthwhile, it diverts you. And the older I get, the more I've seen it. Now, I don't regret any of the moves I made in the past, but I see kids for my first job who, are doing really financially well for themselves, gotten a couple promotions so the job is less stressful, and maybe own a house. Now, if I'd stayed working there, I wouldn't have met my beautiful woman who I intend to marry. I wouldn't have so many of the blessings that I do have today in my life. But at the same time, I would be financially further ahead than I am. And I quit that job thinking, well, I can do better than this. Well, that wasn't true. That hasn't been true yet, I've invested a lot of time and a lot of skills into an Instagram page that was banned, into a couple different jobs that also didn't put me where I wanted to get to. And at the end of the day, if you're going to work places for a year, year and a half at a time, are you ever going to get to a point where you've established yourself enough to reap those rewards? The answer is no, because skills compound. So I've worked in a number of different fields, all in sales, and my sales skills have compounded to a certain degree where I'm a better salesman than I was years ago. I know this, right? There's a lot of things I've just gotten better at in that regard. But expertise that compounds within an industry is valuable as well. And you pass up those key years, it's invisible. It's not like a stock portfolio that goes up and compounds in that way, but your skills compound to a point where you become more and more in demand, and people are willing to pay you more and more, and you're able to generate more income with less effort off of your own skills. And if you're constantly, giving up in the middle of the quest, giving up in the middle of the adventure, you're shortchanging yourself. You're not completing the quest and getting the quest points, all right? You're not gaining that experience. It only happens, look at the dog's pooping right here. That little round ball it goes in. It's hilarious to me. If you only half complete things, you never gain the full experience from them, You never learn the full lesson from them. You never get to that end goal that you should be at if you see things through until the end. So maybe this is a video essay to myself, but if you're in the middle of something difficult, something hard, but something that is worth doing, sometimes you just gotta say, shit, I don't like it today and it's boring and blah, 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 but I'm gonna hang in the pocket and I'm gonna give it 100%, give it my all, because that's all I have to do. If you give it 100% your all in every moment of every day, I guarantee you'll be successful by the end of your life. In every domain, if you're giving everything 100% that you can. And if you give 50%, you'll get 50%, right? If you give 25%, you'll get 25%. It seems to be an epidemic where so few people give a shit nowadays. If you go to either your local coffee shop or your local grocery store or whatever, how many of those people working like minimum wage jobs really seem like they give a shit? And that's a shame. That's a shame. I mean, yeah, it's easy to say, well, why should they give a shit? They're getting paid minimum wage, whatever. But that's the kind of thing that you don't realize it, but it puts you further ahead in life. You gain notoriety. People notice that you're someone who's diligent and works hard when you're someone who's diligent and works hard, even at the most meaningless tasks. I used to work at a park back home, when I was younger. And I must have been in my early 20s at that time. I was in college, and I was just weed whacking, and I'd weed whack around the park and I'd pick up garbage. But there was this kid who I worked with. His name was Neville. Good guy, real good guy. He was a hard worker. He'd show up in the morning, he'd work hard all day, and then he was into like rowing or something, and so he'd go to rowing practice after work every day. He like long days of intense, physical, manual work for this kid. Dude, I'm pretty sure got like 2 raises, not by much, but by $1 an hour, which adds up over time. And by the end of the summer, our boss loved this kid because of how hard he worked and how diligent he was. At a minimum wage job, we were literally weed whacking and we were picking up garbage from a public park. It was not a glamorous job. But that's the kind of attitude that gets you extremely far in life if you're diligent and you have that stick-to-itiveness to actually see the end of the journey. So in many ways, I'm inspired by a guy like that Neville, who's just a hard-working dude who saw through the quest each and every day, right? I talk about adventure maxing, and the sexy version of adventure maxing is going on little adventures every day. Woo, I'm trying different things out, blah, blah, blah. That's fun, variety is the spice of life, etc., etc. But you got to see your adventures through as well. If you're going to try something new, don't have any apprehension about starting the adventure, right? Because a lot of people get stuck at the beginning. But once you're on it, see it through, you know? If you make a commitment to, you want to start a business, you're like, I could do landscaping, you know? Actually go knock on the door of a couple places and say, hey, do you need any landscaping? Have that stick-to-itiveness. Have that it factor that actually allows you to see through yourself to the other side of the journey. Because if you don't do that, then what are you doing, you know? You're not even really adventuring at that point. You're just starting a bunch of quests and not finishing them, which is a waste of everyone's time, including your own. That kind of just backlogs you mentally. You just have this huge, enormous backlog of different things that you've started, but you haven't actually finished any of them. Even when you don't know if there's a particular finish line. For me in this YouTube channel, there isn't really a finish line, right? I'm gonna keep making these videos and try working on them until they're better or whatever, and I'll just post them for a long time. But there's also no particular finish line to this. Maybe I'll be posting YouTube videos in 50 years. That'd be kind of cool, wouldn't it? Or maybe at a certain point, I'll say, hey, this has been enough, and I've fully completed and cycled that journey. But if you cycle out in the middle when you know you have more to give, and I think that's ultimately what it's about. If you look at the journey you're on and you can definitively say, I have no more to give, then you can be done. But if there's even a fraction of a doubt in your mind, do I have more to give? Was there juice I left on the table here? Then you're in the middle of the adventure. Then you're in the pocket. Then you're in the part where if you stick through it, the rewards are the highest at the other end. So never give up on the adventure.